What's up, guys and girls? How's it going? Is there no one else here? Bringing you another video, and this video is going to address the questions I've been getting on a lot of my videos this last week or the last couple of weeks. And that question is this build still viable for Horns of the Reach? Completely understandable question. Very, very important to know. The last patch that just came out, they completely overhauled the CP tree, and everybody's builds were changed drastically. And so people either had to add in a lot more recovery or they switched their builds. And people are curious: is this patch going to do the same thing? And the blunt answer is no. They're not nerfing sustain the way they did. They're not the proc sets. They are getting adjusted, but Viper Sting, for instance, it's still going to do the same damage, but it's that damage over 4 seconds instead of every 4 seconds. And so you'll still have the same damage with Viper that you normally do, but you will not have the same burst that you have with Viper. And so that's the trade-off for that set. Selene is still going to hit just as hard, but now there's going to be an animation. And that animation could be long enough to allow your opponent to block. And so you'll still have high damage with those two sets. They didn't change any of that. They didn't change sustain. So all those builds will still be useful, in my opinion. The builds on my channel, my Stam DK, my Stamina, all the builds that I've posted in Morrowind, they'll still be good. They're not adjusting it. They're not nerfing anything to the ground to the point to where they're going to be unused sets. Most of my builds don't use the sets that they adjusted anyways. So they're still going to be good. But the interesting thing for this patch is the adjustments they made to the 2, 3, and 4 piece. And that's why I wanted to post this video, just to get you guys thinking about your own builds and what you're running. But right here in the developers section for item sets, universally adjusted the values of some 1, 2, 3, and 4 piece bonus stats for all item sets. So max health, max magic, or max stamina on a 1, 2, 3, or 4 piece is increased by 13.3%. So a monster piece or any set that has max stam, max health, max magicka in the 1, 2, 3, or 4 piece will be increased with this set, with this patch. And weapon and spell crit is also being increased by 21%, which is a huge value. That is a very large value, and it makes looking at certain sets that have crit in PvP more interesting. And yes, you can't crit on damage shields. People are running around with impen, but what crit also does is you can crit your heals. And so your vigor ticks will be better with crit. Your breath of life will be better with more crit. That burst healing is just as valuable as burst damage in most situations. So wanted to show you guys a few sets that I think are going to be interesting and talk about that as options for next patch. So with all this in mind, let's look at Viper Sting. So Viper Sting, the 2, 3, and 4 piece is weapon crit, max stam, and weapon crit. They're not changing the damage for the 5 piece. It's going to be over 4 seconds, so that damage is going to be spread out, but they're buffing the 2, 3, and 4 piece. So Viper Sting is actually going to be at a base level stronger next patch. It's not going to be as big of an issue because they're nerfing the burst damage, but the 2, 3, and 4 piece is now stronger, and so the set is buffed because of that. So this set is still going to be good. So if you're running Viper and you like Viper, it'll still be good for that reason. Your healing is going to be a lot better with this set on than it currently is, because you're going to have more crit and you're going to have more max stamina. Hulking Draugr is going to make, Hulking Draugr is already used quite a bit, but they buffed the 2, 3, and 4 piece for this set, but they also buffed the 5 piece, a very small amount. But this buff, I was doing some math because, I'm a nerd, whatever. We've already gotten to that point. I was trying to figure out if Hulking Draugr with this buffed gave us enough flat damage to replace a set like Bone Pirates. Because right now, for most sets, Bone Pirates is the universal go-to because it has so much stam and it has so much recovery. And so running a set like Draugr Hulk, you miss out on a lot of recovery with the reduced cost changes from last patch. It just makes more sense on most builds to run Bone Pirates over hulking Draugr, even though Draugr gives more damage. But this patch, now there's actually a decent trade-off because they buff this 2, 3, and 4 piece so much that if you're running Bone Pirates and you find that, you know, hey, I can get by with less recovery, like let's say you're running like a Stam DK, you know, Stam DKs and Stamplars are going to look at hulking Draugr more because they don't need the flat recovery value like other builds. Stam Sorks, you know, because they have Dark Deal, they might benefit from just having flat damage from hulking Draugr. So this set's going to make a huge leap to the forefront. I think there's going to be a lot of people posting builds with this set because of what it's going to be doing. And then finally, Hunding's Rage. Hunding's Rage is probably, so my Stamina Nightblade, I went from running Hunding's Rage and Bone Pirates to running Shackle Breaker and Bone Pirates. And the reasoning was I get slightly more flat damage off of Shackle Breaker than I do off of Hunding's. Yes, Hunding's does more damage considering crit values, but that little bit of extra recovery allowed me to apply more flat damage, which affects Sorks more. You know, flat damage is something I look more at than looking at crit values for my setups. But due to this increase in crit value, Hunding's Rage is now going to probably replace Shackle Breaker for me. I'm going to probably go back to Hunding's Rage because the crit, the max stamina, and the crit, this set just got buffed by quite a bit. And on that same shoe, the Magicka version of this, Julianos, is going to be a lot better as well. So I think Hunding's and Julianos will be one of, you know, some of the go-to sets for a lot of builds this next patch, just because of what the 2, 3, and 4 piece is doing. 5 piece is always good. These sets were always good, but now they're better. And so all of a sudden, adjustments in burst damage from Viper, from Red Mountain, from Selene might make people look at a set like Hunding's Rage and go, wow, I get so much damage, and now I get better healing, and so now I'm going to, like, yeah, I'm missing out on the burst, but I get more healing, I get more damage from running this set instead. And so I think people are going to be shifting a little bit. So if you're worried about Viper, you know, look at a set like Hunding's Rage. If you're wondering about what 5-piece damage set to run on your Magicka classes, I would look at Julianos. Those are the sets that I'm going to be leaning towards, and I'm going to be giving a try because they're just providing so much. But in general, they're not changing anything so drastically that a build is going to be completely nerfed. If you're a Stam Sork and you're running around with Sword and Board, Black Rose, Viper, and Tremor Scale, you're still going to do a shit ton of damage. I mean, there's no denying it. It's just you're not going to be able to 2 and 3 bang people like you used to be able to. And if you don't like that, you know, maybe you're going to have to adjust your sets and, you know, apply flat damage sets that not only buff your flat damage, but your overall character by buffing their healing and whatever. So that's going to be the end of this video. If you have any questions, please comment in the section below. Obviously, there are other sets out there that do similar stuff, but you know, go out there and look at sets that have crit and max stam in the 2, 3, and 4 pieces, and start coming up with your own builds and building around it, because those are huge changes that really are going to be applicable in PvP. So, thanks guys. Have a nice day.